Well, having spent many dozens of hours in the world of Final Fantasy XVI, I really felt like playing something different. And what could be more different than Baldur's Gate 3? Yeah, it's an RPG too, but of a vastly different type, and I was really looking forward to giving it a go. Unfortunately, by the time I'd completely sated my lust for Final Fantasy XVI, I still had to wait a little while for the full release of Baldur's Gate 3, so I decided to play something even more different from Final Fantasy. So here we go with a fondly remembered Mega Drive platformer from my childhood, World of Illusion, starring Mickey and Donald. Incidentally, I have been playing Baldur's Gate 3 obsessively for a while now, and it's as good as they say. I might do a video on it in the future. Anyway, on to World of Illusion. The term cozy game is a relatively new addition to the gaming lexicon. It's a pretty broad term that encompasses many different types of games, but basically it refers to any game that's relaxing, easygoing, not too challenging, or perhaps not challenging at all. Cute characters and colourful, vibrant, peaceful environments may also feature. It's a genre that is increasingly common amongst indie developers, which makes sense, given that they typically require less resources to make and sell for less than a AAA game. There are loads of farming games like Stardew Valley and walking sims and soulful meditations on the meaning of existence. World of Illusion doesn't fit into any of those categories, but nevertheless, as I played it, I found myself thinking that it might just be plausible to call it a cozy game. It's certainly got the cute characters and colourful, vibrant environments. Compared to something like Sonic the Hedgehog, it's also impossibly slow and sedate. But that's not necessarily a terrible thing. I mean, it's not necessarily great either, but not every platform has to see you blazing through loops and rolling around at the speed of sound. The story in this game is pretty much all you need from a 16-bit platformer featuring established characters. Mickey and Donald are preparing for a magic show because, of course, they're a well-known duo of magicians, right? Donald, craven coward that he is startled by a magic trick, presumably one they've rehearsed often, so he should have known exactly what was going to happen. I mean, if your magic is so amazing that even you're startled by it, you're either an incredible magician or a bit of an idiot. And I think we know which one Donald is. Anyway, he then trips over and accidentally discovers a magical box. Of course, this box is a gateway to another world, and of course Donald jumps inside and disappears, leaving Mickey to roll his eyes and jump in after him. And so their adventure begins. Well, I say their adventure, and this is indeed a co-op game, but alas, as a friendless loser, I have to go it alone. You can pick either Mickey or Donald, and of course I'm going with the duck over that gormless mouse. He might be a craven coward and a bit of an idiot, but he's also grumpy as hell, so he's basically me if I had feathers and a sailor hat. Anyway, here we are in the World of Illusion. I have very strong memories of the first time I played this game way back in the early 90s. I remember being absolutely blown away by the graphics in this first section, with the caterpillar from Alice in Wonderland looking back at you. The music too really stuck in my mind. There's a richness and artistry to the whole presentation that was rare in games at the time. Even amongst the other finely crafted Disney games of the era, this was a cut above. This first level is a pleasant and unchallenging little stroll through the forest with distinct Alice in Wonderland vibes, as you're harassed only occasionally by simple enemies that are easily dispatched with a sweep of your magic blanket thing. Maybe it's a cape? I say dispatched, but they're actually turned into lovely little flowers. Aww. And this really does set the tone for the game. There's not a whole heap of challenge to be found here. The game really is too easy, if anything. But hey, it's a kid's game, it's no Dark Souls. And let's just not examine why I, a man rapidly aging into the category of truly decrepit, am still playing and enjoying this game. The second level is a cave filled with spiders, so if you've got arachnophobia, well, I still don't think you'll have much to worry about. I mean, these things look goofy as hell, by which I don't mean the Disney character. He has a cameo on the options screen, but is otherwise absent. Plus, they only have 6 legs. They're more like beetles, if anything. Beetles with buck teeth and Disneyfied faces. You know what, they are actually kind of disconcerting. And the first boss is even more disconcerting, being a giant red-headed version of them. But being mildly off-putting is the only real tool in his arsenal, as even by kids' platformer standards, he is incredibly simple and easy to defeat. And now you're traversing the clouds on a magic carpet. This is once again a pleasant and undemanding experience, as enemies are few and far between, and friendly gusts of wind mostly prevent you from plummeting back to Earth. But then for no apparent reason you find yourself on a leaf floating down a mountain stream, and this is honestly the only section of the game where you might find yourself losing a life or 2, or 3. It's not exactly hard, but you move so slowly and the jumping controls feel a little off here with the added momentum of the leaf, plus falling off is an insta-kill, so yeah, this might be the only real challenge of the game, and it's not exactly a fair or enjoyable one. And then it's back to the skies where there's a cloudy piano for some reason, and it's always annoyed me, well, it's annoyed me since I noticed 10 seconds ago when watching my gameplay recording, that the sequence of black and white keys is accurate right until the end where there's a random extra black key for some reason. It's a travesty. Surely we can demand a bit of technical accuracy from cloud-based keyboards in children's games based on Disney characters. The next boss is barely worthy of the title of boss. It's a series of dragons, I think they're peace dragons, that jump out of boxes and shoot fireballs. Not exactly a massive challenge. I still get hit several times though, of course. And it's on to everyone's favourite, the underwater level. Actually, this one isn't too terrible. Movement is slow, but that's kind of what this game is all about anyway, and Donald's awkward panicked flailing in his bubble makes it all worthwhile. The nautical theme continues with a beach level, which is a rather rote collection of very minor jumping challenges from raft to moving raft. Music's nice and cheery though. And then Donald needs to make his way through a rather less cheery sunken pirate ship. And yeah, once again, it's not exactly tough. Even the obligatory rising water section is completely devoid of tension. The boss, on the other hand, might be the most difficult in the game, but remember that's really not saying much. And it's definitely incredibly simple, it's just that the way it can turn around suddenly and speed up might catch you out the first couple of times it does, but probably no more often than that. So there has been a good variety of environments so far, and I give the game credit for that. But what I probably haven't really made clear is just how brief all these different segments have been. We're about halfway through the game at this point, and what you've seen so far represents maybe 20 minutes of gameplay. That's not a lot, even by the standards of the day. And keep in mind, your movement speed is glacial, so it's not like Sonic, where even if you could zip to the end of a zone in a couple of minutes, you still covered a lot of ground, packed with a bunch of interesting features. But hey, things could get more expansive in the second half of the game. I mean, they don't, obviously. I've played the whole thing, and they don't. But they could, theoretically. The diverse environments, as well as the coziness, continue with a nice oak-panelled library. Well, I like to imagine it's oak. Truth be told, there aren't really enough pixels to give a proper impression of the wood grain. There's a jar of, I don't know, marshmallows, I think, that provides a very simple, barely secret mini-stage. And there's a book, appropriately titled Book, that whisks you away to a land of paper and words. And yeah, okay, I admit I find this bit rather charming. The enemies are constructed of letters that spell out what they are, rock and wolf and eagle, although I had to pause the game and look carefully to figure that last one out. This may not be the most exciting game or the most intricate, but for a kid in the early 90s it definitely had an appeal. I'm also a fan of the next level. For whatever reason, I've always loved levels in platform games that are based around food. James Pond 2 may be the best example with its jelly levels, but I like this one too. In all honesty, it's probably got a lot to do with just how gluttonous I am. Seriously, I love food. I ain't exactly skinny, but if I didn't still have a semblance of self-control, I'd be one of those super obese people you see on medical documentaries being carried to a specially constructed ambulance by a team of medics. And levels like this, they just make me hungry. The boss here flies around harmlessly and barely seems to bother attacking. Another one bites the dust with minimal effort. We're back to an Alice in Wonderland inspired forest for the next level. Things are very slightly more challenging here with more enemies and a few bottomless pits, but I do mean very slightly more challenging. There's a puzzle involving dice, or at least I assumed it was a puzzle, but it turns out you literally just have to jump on the one directly under the big sign that says "Press me." The others just send you back to earlier in the level or take you to a bonus room with lots of items. Once you've solved this incredibly difficult brain teaser, it's time to face what is easily the most complex level in the game. By the standards the game has set so far, this level is a veritable Dark Souls game unto itself, as you need to not only go upstairs but down them as well, and there are dead ends sometimes. It's a nightmare of navigation, if you're 3 years old. Fortunately, I have the mental age of a 5-year-old, or perhaps a rather senile 80-year-old, so I managed it with ease. So we come to the final level, and honestly I like this one too. I have strong memories of it from my childhood with its magical atmosphere and mystical music. Back then it seemed like a fitting end to an epic journey. With the benefit of hindsight and another few decades of experience, I realised that the journey wasn't so epic. But hey, that's the benefit of being just a stupid kid. You're easily pleased. And now it's final boss time. It looks cool, but man, couldn't they have upped the complexity just a tiny bit for this, the ultimate challenge of the game? You don't even have to pay attention to the ghosts, you just need to jump up a few times and wave your cloak around. And that's it. Roughly 40 minutes after I started, the game is complete. Donald suffers one last catastrophic injury in the end sequence, the credits roll, and I am left reflecting on just how different the world seems when you're in your 40s, compared to how you see it when you're barely in double digits. I loved this game back then, I really did. And even now I can see that it has many charms, but it's also such an insubstantial wisp of a game. But hey, it made me happy back in the day, despite the fact I was probably too old for it even then. This really is the sort of experience that might be best appreciated by a 7-year-old. Or make that 2 7-year-olds. The game's brevity becomes slightly more forgivable when you take into account the 2-player mode, which isn't just the same game with Mickey and Donald strolling along together, but a substantially different experience. Not only are there added game mechanics, such as the ability to lift each other up on ropes or this nifty minecart section where the players need to time their jumps to get the cart moving, there are several completely new levels unique to the 2-player version. This is a really nice touch, and I can easily imagine that for a couple of pre-teen siblings, or maybe a parent and a child, this could be a truly excellent family experience. Not for lonely old me though, I had to get this footage from the World of Longplays YouTube channel, links below. So there you have it. World of Illusion is a warm, cozy chunk of nostalgia for me. But if you don't have that nostalgia yourself, it's not necessarily a game that I'd say is a must-play, unless you're really into either Disney or 16-bit platformers. And actually I guess that covers quite a few people, so hey, maybe give it a go. Just don't expect a challenge. Well, thanks for watching. Don't forget to do all those things that every YouTuber in existence has been telling you to do for the last billion years. And until next time, get off my lawn.